I got so many comments from people after I introduced Lipstick Mom a few weeks ago about like, where was your lipstick in the next episode? So I had to bring it back today.
Oh, so it's going to be like hosted, but your co-host is going to be Lipstick Mom.
Well, yeah. And then I was telling my husband about that, and he said, well, where's Jessica? Because my family really loves Jessica, by the way. You could tell your mom that.
I will tell her that. Thank you.
Huge hit. If you haven't met Lipstick Mom and Jessica, go back a couple weeks in our episodes and they make an appearance.
Yeah. And I told you already, right, that my family loves Lipstick Mom.
Oh, no. So,
But the difference is they hate Jessica, but love Lipstick Mom. So,
well, I think my daughter maybe isn't a big fan of Lipstick Mom either because she knows she's going to be terrorized by her.
This is The Naturalist. In every episode, we're covering the products, ideas, and trends that are shaping the CPG industry.
Or that we just really like.
So,
well,
there you go.
Here we are, still from our home offices.
Yeah.
It's going to be perfect.
Yeah. It's going to be super exciting when we reveal the studio remodel, though. Just kidding. I'm kidding. We're getting it remodeled.
This is on me. I'm doing a little living in a bubble for a bit, but gotta do what you gotta do.
I love being at my house.
I do like going and giving Kaya a little pet. What's the thing that you do when you're feeling kind of like, oh, like a little bit in a slump? Like, what is it that you do? 'Cause I pet Kaya, and it just
That's
works
a really,
every time.
really good question. Sometimes I'll just take like 3 minutes and look at airline tickets because or like, just dream for a second about it. Not that I need airline tickets. I have airline tickets. Or I'll go, like read my book while I brush my teeth or something for 5 minutes. Just something little. Yeah, I really like reading while I brush my teeth.
Yeah, because you're the one who introduced me to, which I have not yet tried, but I like the idea of it, the reading breakfast that you and your family do. So I really like that, but I didn't know about the reading. And do you like ever bring a book into the shower, like hold it on the other side of the curtain?
I read on my Kindle mostly now. And I have this little ledge that kind of has a glass between my shower and I put my book there when I'm brushing my teeth. So I have thought before about like, could I turn it around and read while I'm in the shower? But how would I change the pages? So
yeah.
That's when I have serious conversations with myself about get a life.
So, okay, let's talk about this airline ticket thing, because what's going on with airline ticket prices? Are they expensive? Because I do want to talk about some of the inflation things that we're seeing.
Well, they are really expensive right now, but all signs point to prices dropping.
Yes.
In the near future, because there are not a lot of European tourists coming to the United States right now or from other places.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Okay.
tourism is, potentially going to take kind of a hit. I've already read that Canadian tourists who kind of flock to the southern U.S. Slowing down.
So prices there will go down, because are things like would like our airline tickets susceptible to inflation? So anyways, what we were on a call with our content team earlier, and someone was like, what is going on with chocolate chip prices? Oh my gosh. And then there were a series of other things in the aisle that you will find in stores where prices are just astronomical. I know we got eggs a lot, and those are kind of up and down, but chocolate chips and cocoa is really interesting. And we dug in a little bit because it's definitely a result of tariffs and inflation, but also climate and agricultural practices are hit really, really hard in the cocoa industry. And so prices are expected to be really high for the next year or more, definitely through 2025. So don't plan on making chocolate chip cookies anytime soon, I guess.
Well, and I thought that was really interesting. One of our colleagues who works on Nutrition Capital Network talking a little bit about, there are so many kind of alt chocolate companies coming out now that are in coffee as well, that are trying to really bridge that gap between the supply and demand for products like cocoa and coffee that are
Yeah. And I've seen some of those companies at NCN, and a lot of them do exist in this like precision fermentation space and are really creating like bioidentical ingredients to cocoa. So that's something, that we're always looking at is like, what does that mean if, we're creating these products that are bioidentical and generally are using precision fermentation or other processes that have been pretty controversial, but in some cases can really have a specific purpose that can be beneficial to consumers and potentially have, environmental benefits. So that's really interesting, especially when you see an ingredient like cocoa that is being hit extremely hard. So.
Well, and also in the natural space, we have had some brands come out with products that are similar in taste and feel to cocoa and to coffee, but that are made with natural ingredients. Remember there was that coffee brand that won like a show floor NEXTY 2 years ago at Expo West. I think it's called Minus. They're from Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And it's a coffeeless coffee, and it was made with chicory and I think it had like lentils or something, but it was phenomenal. I mean, I thought the approximation to coffee was really outstanding. So I love that this is an area that can see innovation kind of on both ends, both from like a more technological approach and then also like the natural products formulation.
I love that. Yeah. So more to come on that.
Yeah.
So that was a hot button issue because everyone's like, just want my chocolate. So that was kind of coming from like our consumer need chocolate. But there are some other interesting things happening. We published an article. So this episode, we're doing an episode that's just all the things.
All the things. I love the all the things.
I'm not even going to try to make transitions between these things. Try to make the connection.
Don't bother.
So we had a great article on newhope.com from Rick Polito of Nutrition Business Journal, supplement industry news and updates. And his piece talked about the practitioner channel and how the practitioner channel continues to be really strong for supplements that are, so I think he looked at those particular practitioner supplement brands, what that channel is doing. And what he noted in there, which I thought was particularly interesting, was even when growth was slowing it for the dietary supplement industry following the pandemic, it kind of was, had some dips at peaks and valleys in what growth was doing, but that practitioner channel remained really strong. And I think that makes sense because consumers who are at their doctor getting a doctor recommendation for dietary supplements are probably pretty consistently going to take that recommendation and be purchasing there. So, and probably view those supplements as more kind of essential just in terms of how people have traditionally thought about healthcare and doctors' recommendations and all that. So, I just thought that was interesting. And I know there are some companies, over the years that we've kind of worked closely with, like Thorne, for example, that have done really, really well in practitioner channel. I want to pull up some of the numbers just to make sure I get them right. But NBJ projections captured, this is from the Supplement Business Report. We just talked to Erica, who gave us some great updates there. But practitioner channel growth in 2024 was estimated at around 7.8%, following 7.7% in 2023 and 7.6% we're anticipating for 2025. So pretty consistent. And this is the really cool thing. In 22, when the overall supplement industry dropped to 2% growth, so it saw a really slow year following that pandemic peak, it was the lowest NBJ ever tracked. Practitioner sales were still at around 7.2%.
Wow.
So I think that's super fascinating. And Rick commented on he just thinks that this is going to continue to grab an increasing share of the market. So I think it's definitely a space to watch.
Great. Are you ready for my next complete non sequitur?
Love it. Bring it on.
Okay.
Bring it on.
You're going to like this one. Hormbles Chormbles. Is that the name? Okay. You may have heard us talk about Hormbles Chormbles before. We were talking about it again today because we were talking about the whole acquisition of David of the Epogee. Can you help me here, please? Can I phone a friend?
I can try. I could attempt to try. So yeah, so David, which if people don't know this brand, it like totally blew up on social media. Protein bar brand. It has this gold packaging, this gold wrapper to it, and who doesn't love a gold wrapper, right?
Yeah, agreed.
It's like our conversation yesterday. Just call it special, and everyone. It's a special gold wrapper, and they just like totally blew up. And it's
from the same person who founded RX Bar, and is one of the people behind Hornble's Chornbles, just to make it come full circle.
Yeah, so full circle. I like that. But Epogee, you're right, Adrienne. It's a plant-based fat alternative, significantly reduces calories and fat. And they say that it does that without really impacting like the formulation, the flavor, all of that. But they acquired Epogee, that's Epogee, which is the food technology company. So also, I guess we are kind of bridging those worlds. So we're talking about food tech too. Yeah. And that they are the company that makes Epogee. So David acquired them, which makes David super valuable because all of this ties to what we're seeing with GLP-1s and people wanting to reduce calorie intake, but maintain the fullness and get protein and all of those things. And so it's kind of like a hot ingredient right now. So yeah, David raised 75 million, and obviously there's a lot of capital flowing into that space. We're talking about protein, we're talking about GLP-1s and products that support GLP-1 users. Everyone's attention is on that. Behind the scenes, there's also some legal issues, right? Some lawsuits going on.
Well, there were other companies that were using the Epogee ingredient in their formulations. So they have apparently since the acquisition, been cut off from that supply chain completely. So there's some legal things happening. But don't worry, Hornble's Chornbles still has Epogee in it.
So Hornble's Chornbles is coming back. We're gonna
never went away.
Hornble's Chornbles will almost be like the lipstick mom of it'll be like our fourth host of the own character. But yeah, very interesting to see that. And so people are saying it's like it was used, the term, I think in the article that we were reading, was a bait and switch. So they fired this company, now have control over the ingredient. And is this ingredient really that valuable? But then our whole team got to talking about David's bars, and not to like rip on them because I haven't tried them and I haven't really looked at the ingredient list, but it's not like a super clean ingredient list, and not probably a product that we'd see coming through our natural and organic.
Yeah, I mean, one of our standards experts weighed in, and they would not be approved by our standards team for our shows because of the artificial sweeteners, sucralose and ACE K.
There you go. So I don't know. It's not a bar that I have.
You just like it because it's pretty.
Yeah. Sorry.
Speaking of acquisitions, this is a kind of old news now, but I hadn't heard until just now about the acquisition of Daily Harvest by Chobani. I'm gonna say I think it was probably their NEXTY win this year at Expo West that made Chobani take notice.
The reason that most companies are acquired is that NEXTY win. No, but it contributes, right? It's like it really blew up. So do you know how much were they acquired for?
No, I asked the internet and AI gave me a figure, but I haven't been able to actually confirm it anywhere. So should we not say it? I feel like we shouldn't say it.
I guess not. Okay, tell me later.
Tell you later.
Yeah, so that's a big one. I wonder, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that brand. Well, we have to talk about, it's a little late when this podcast will go live, but we do have to talk about the MAHA report.
Yeah.
That came out, because that's definitely been a big topic of conversation, for not just the natural products industry, but really for everyone, right? And so the report looks at a few key areas that are impacting particularly children's health. ultra processed foods being top of the list. So absolutely that directly relates to the CPG industry and a lot of the conversations that are being had around artificial colors and, different problematic ingredients that have not been addressed in our food system that the natural products industry has been doing great things around for a long time. So that was one. Environmental chemicals, and then, things like screen time and the kind of over medicalization or over prescribing of things for children. And so all of these actually, when you look at it, relate to this industry. So I think there's some really interesting opportunities, and obviously like big picture, I think it's great and so important that these issues are addressed more broadly and that our government is addressing them. But there's also some issues, right? There's some issues with the report too.
Yeah, certainly. And there's the greater issues without getting into specifics maybe of, if environmental toxins are so impactful and if that's such a problem, which obviously it is. I mean, I 100% would agree with that. It's curious to see this report coming from a government that is taking apart the EPA, that is getting rid of a lot of these protections. So, it's kind of where to find that common ground between the work that's being done by the MAHA group and the policy that they can actually influence. And so far, it doesn't feel aligned with the policy that we've seen come out of the administration, but I guess that remains to be seen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's important to call out some of those contradictions. And I think, when you take a step back, a 30,000 foot view of it, it's like, oh, wait, like this over here, how does it align with this?
Yeah.
Just being more of that cohesive approach. Absolutely. And then you drill down and get really specific on the report. And of course, what everyone's been talking about is the citation issues. So there are things that are improperly cited, that aren't appearing in the right ways, that don't actually exist. So that obviously is a big issue. I am sure this is public because she's been sharing it, but Robin O'Brien, has been doing this work for a long time. And she brought up, it's obviously these issues are critical and it's great to see them. I actually don't think she said it's great to see them.
Nobody wants these
Those
issues.
are my words. Those are my words, not hers. But then she talked about how important it is that we are so meticulous and when you publish something like this and going through the studies and properly sourcing and citing. So obviously, maybe that goes without saying, but I think also, in this report, there is kind of this deviation from mainstream science. There's, obviously issues around, whatever. There's a lot of issues that we could go into, but I think if we just keep it at a very simple level for this conversation, we say, how does the natural and organic product industry and the dietary supplement industry continue to do this really important work and hopefully have a strong role in what the future of legislation looks like, having more conversations that reach the government. And I can see that both from the food industry and the dietary supplement industry. And on the supplement industry piece of it, particularly how it relates to some of these pharma conversations. So opportunity, and then certainly big caveats and watch outs for, how we approach all of this.
I'm glad you brought up the sourcing and what, I know that that's been a big conversation because I completely went down the rabbit hole this morning and started, reading all the footnotes and wait, where did this piece of thing? And as I was just thinking, yes, that's always important to figure out where this information is coming from and make sure that it's got the proper data to back it up.
Well, we're going to obviously have some of those conversations at NBJ Summit. We do have Calley Means as one of our speakers. He, along with his sister Casey, have been doing a lot of the work around talking about our healthcare system and what needs to change. And he talks about it as, we need to move from a sick care system, so only addressing problems once they've already reached hospitals and doctors, and moving into a well-care system, which is preventative health and preventative medicine, and some of the challenges in doing that, the complexities of a system that has been greatly influenced by pharmaceutical industries and food industries. And that's powerful. And, there's various perspectives on that and the role that this supplement industry can play. So he will be there. And then we have a really cool panel that Bill Giebler will be leading on healthcare transformation. We just had a planning call for it the other day, and I really loved some of the perspectives that came up on that too, of, different things that will be influencing healthcare. Not only, all of these regulatory conversations and things happening in government, but AI and how AI is influencing that. But one thing that came out of that conversation that I think we can get back to, whether it's around healthcare or the products that we deliver to people or the content that we create and serve people, which is a human-centered approach to how we do all of this, and making sure that we keep that at the core of what we're doing. So that touched me this week and felt like a really good thing to center around.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
All right. That's our episode.
Great, subscribe.
Great work today. Can't go.